Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Yes indeed, time for another rock and read. Today we'll pick up where we left off with chapter 31 of It's So Easy and Otherwise by Duff McKagan. Here we go. Because of the sheer scale of our stage set and the complexity of juggling open dates in such big venues, there were many weeks where we played only 2 or 3 shows. That gave me way too much time to up. As a means to keep myself busy and push back the hardcore drinking for a few hours, I rented studios sporadically during the tour and recorded my own songs. I had a few I knew wouldn't work stylistically for GNR, and I figured maybe I could make a record like Prince, playing all the instruments. Not that I pretended for a second I was anywhere near as gifted as Prince. I would play a sloppy Johnny Thunder-style version of all the instruments. But still, I had recorded one song called The Majority just before we left on tour, with Lenny Kravitz on vocals. I had become friends with Lenny before he blew up. I had had a demo tape of his first album, That Ill-Fated Summer in Chicago. Since I recorded on the road, I was able to get some other guest spots from bands opening for us, and from musicians who lived in towns where we played. Sebastian Bach, Snake Sabo, and Rob Affuso from Skid Row played on a few songs. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains added a guitar track somewhere along the way. Slash, Gilby, and Matt helped me out. On June 6, 1992, GNR performed a pay-per-view concert in Paris and lined up Steven Tyler and Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Lenny Kravitz, and Jeff Beck to make cameo appearances. In the end, Jeff had to cancel because his ears were damaged during rehearsals, but he offered to play on a couple of my songs. I couldn't believe it. After the Paris show, Guns N' Roses had some days off in London, and Jeff and I arranged to enter a studio there. I had invited my mom to meet me in London too. She had never been to Europe. She had never really been much of anywhere, as she had been too busy and too broke raising 8 of us. Mom was a huge Agatha Christie reader and loved all things quaintly English as a result. My mom also loved to be around me when I worked. I arranged for a friend of mine, drummer Slam Thunderhide of the band Zodiac Mind Warp, to have my mom over to his flat for a proper English tea, and then to bring her down to the studio where Jeff and I were recording. Jeff had already been playing for a little while when my mom arrived. He's a virtuoso, and watching him play is like seeing musical butter melt. After Jeff had played some blistering passes at one song, my mom said, "Jeff, you play really nice guitar." My mom was not aware of Jeff Beck's iconic status. She didn't know about the Yardbirds or his influential albums like Wired and Blow by Blow. Unfazed, Jeff answered, "Oh, well, thank you so much, Marie. I thought I messed up that last pass pretty good. Did you like it then?" That guy will forever be my hero. On June 21st, 1992, Guns N' Roses had to pay to keep the public transport system open late in Basel, Switzerland. The only way back into town from the soccer stadium was a tram line that normally closed long before we finished, maybe before we even started. Almost every night, we heard the crowds get antsy and then ugly. After about an hour of waiting, fans would start to chant. Then they would start to throw beer bottles and rocks and whatever else they could find. Everyone on the crew knew not to walk around in front of the stage equipment, not to make themselves a target. From backstage, it was difficult to know whether people had started or would soon start to try to scale the security fences or rigging, That is, break into full-on riot mode. But the thumps of flying objects and the angry chants sounded threatening enough to fill my soul with foreboding, dread, and embarrassment. Know your exit. We shared our plane with you too on this leg of the tour, with the MGM 727 crisscrossing the skies over Europe to tote each band to its next location. Everything had scaled up. We often flew from our hotels to the venues in helicopters, plural, even massive double-prop Chinook helicopters. We rented yachts the size of oil tankers for outings on off days. We went on private shopping sprees at designer boutiques and spent entire days racing go-karts on tracks reserved exclusively for us. Everything had become outsized. Everything. When McBob and his brother started slugging each other at a club late one hazy night, Harry Connick Jr. pulled them apart. We had celebrities breaking up the fistfights between our crew members. On Tuesday, June 23rd, in Rotterdam, I stewed backstage after the Dutch police told us power would be cut at 11:30 p.m. Fans had already waited 2 hours since opener Faith No More finished playing, and our set would not be finished by 11:30 p.m. I feared another riot. On stage, Axl told the crowd about the police threat, and basically invited the audience to tear the place down if the show was stopped. The power stayed on. We closed out this leg of the tour about a week later in Lisbon, Portugal, then flew home. I was so used to being in hotels, and I acted like an animal in hotels, that I woke up in my own bedroom and spat on the floor and tried to call room service. During the break between that European leg and the launch of a co-headlining tour with Metallica in late July, I got married to Linda Johnson, a penthouse pet and an enthusiastic co-conspirator in Eust. At least, I think it was then. I don't remember the wedding. I think we got married on a boat at Lake Arrowhead, which was still party central, all about coke and debauchery. We were drinking with a bunch of friends. I woke up a few days later and we were married. I guess boat captains can marry people. That I could do all my in front of her was pretty much the basis of our bond, and now we were married. It was obvious even to me that my life was unraveling. I was married to her. How much worse could it get? In July 1992, we started a co-headlining tour with Metallica at RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. In some cases, such bills are plagued by disputes over who gets to play second. Not this bill. Metallica graciously insisted on taking the stage first. It was smart. They wanted to play and get paid, whether or not Guns N' Roses turned up on time. Less than a month into the tour, on August 8, 1992, we stopped in Montreal. Metallica frontman James Hetfield inadvertently stepped into the plume of one of his band's pyrotechnic pots at the show and had to be rushed to the hospital with extensive burns. The other members of Metallica came back out on stage after James had been whisked away, explained what had happened, and apologized for suspending the show. We could have saved the day by going right on and playing a long set. It would have been a great gesture to the fans and to the guys in Metallica. It would have been the professional thing to do, the right thing to do. And we were capable of an epic set. We had played for 4 hours in LA, the night we found out mixing was complete on the Illusion Records. But no. The same happened in Montreal as elsewhere, us going on late, more than 2 hours after Hetfield was rushed to the hospital, playing to pissed off fans. Our own fans, pissed off at us. I sat backstage monitoring the sounds drifting in from the arena, drink in hand, and could feel the crowd's mood change. The rumble of tens of thousands of people beginning to get angry is a deep, low sound that penetrates walls and vibrates the fundaments of buildings where dressing rooms are located. It's a horrible sound, and the panic and embarrassment and frustration in my own head was compounded by that rumble. After letting the crowd reach its boiling point, we finally went out and started playing. Then, 45 minutes into our set, a microphone stand hit Axel in the mouth. He threw down the mic and left. This time, the riot didn't start near the stage. We didn't even see it. The crowd blew up back at the concession areas and merchandise stands and then spread outside into the streets. In fact, our crew did their normal teardown of the set, oblivious to the riot already raging out of view. Only when our buses pulled out of the parking enclosure did we see the full extent of the situation. Cop cars turned over, vehicles on fire, lots of broken windows. Once again, there looked to be a lot of injuries. Once again, I felt anguished and heartbroken. This time, I also felt deeply embarrassed, a feeling that managed inexorably to worm its way into my vodka-numb psyche. It didn't have to be like this. Well, that's the end of chapter 31. Let me know what you thought of this chapter in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.